Hello patrons, I hope you're doing well today. 2 Saturdays ago I had to cancel the live tour because of my injured hand, and then last Saturday I had to cancel because of a migraine. And this coming Saturday there's actually rain forecast all day, and I said to myself, I just can't cancel this thing 3 weeks in a row. Just can't do it. So this is Friday and I'm pre-recording this walk through the secret garden that I'm calling your own private Giverny. I think you're going to really appreciate it. As you saw in the previous video, I'm really excited about this discovery. And not only that, but I decided to make this video just for the patrons. So this is a Frites only episode, and we'll consider it a bonus and a bit of a way for me to show my appreciation for all of you. And so let me show you just a little taste of where we're headed. This is a place that's full of beautiful flowers and big trees and little walkways and a stream and even some lily pads and a little mini bamboo forest. It is very Giverny-like, even though I don't think Monet would have ever painted here. And so let's get started, and I want to remind you that because I'm pre-recording, it allows me to do it in a higher definition, so this video will hopefully look a bit better than the others. And be sure, if you're watching on YouTube or Facebook, click in the video settings and make sure that you choose the highest possible quality. So let's get started, folks. Your own private Giverny. So I want you to imagine, and I'm going to show you those horses going by there. That's actually relevant to our story. I want you to take your mind back to the year 1899, and out here just outside the eastern edge of Paris at the Château de Vincennes, they built a cavalry complex. And they installed, all the military horses and the weapons depots, and there were training exercises, military exercises, and there's still evidence of that old cavalry that we'll talk about. As you can see, I just showed you there are still uniformed soldiers on horseback that are usually trotting through here quite often. So this park here, it's actually called the Square Carnot. Square Carnot was created 1 year later in 1890. And it was to complement the neighborhood that was being constructed around the cavalry complex. And so we're really right in the heart of Belle Époque, rather turn of the century Paris. And we're going to take our time here because some of the views are spectacular. So it's Square Carnot. Even though we're outside of Paris geographically, this is considered the 12th arrondissement. That's why you don't have to lie when you say that this is the best kept secret in Paris, because according to the map of the arrondissement, it in fact is Paris. There are still actually a lot of residences around here that date back to the Art Nouveau period, because this is when all of this was constructed. So let's get started here. For those of you who aren't aware, that looks better. For those of you who aren't aware of what Giverny is, Claude Monet, the Impressionist, famously created a home for himself northwest of Paris, where he planted these beautiful gardens. And he had a nice little home there, and his family resided there, and he, of course, famously painted out at Giverny all of those beautiful lily pad paintings and paintings of his bridges and whatnot. And it's a magical place. I recommend you go to Giverny, and when I say that this place is Giverny-esque, it's with the understanding, I think we all can agree, that there's only one Giverny, and you should absolutely see it. But this out here next to the Château de Vincennes is not a bad backup plan, and not a bad way to avoid crowds, because there's almost never anyone here. So that's why I like to call it your private, personal Giverny. And there's just some fantastic views, so let me show you this bridge here. This park, the Square Carnot, was designed in the style of Napoleon III. Even though it was created after Napoleon ruled France, it's in that English garden style. Napoleon himself, back in the day, was exiled from France, and he spent time in London. And during his several months stay in London, he fell in love with the English style of gardening, as opposed to the French very ordered and rather manicured style, so to speak. And so this mimics that English style garden, and look at that. I mean, there are actual literal lily pads over here that maybe I'll zoom in on for you. And this is just the beginning, by the way. There's all kinds of loveliness, and look at this tree. I mean, boy, I don't think Monet ever painted here, but he could have. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to revel in these compositions, of course. And I'll try to expose properly for the light throughout. Let me just back up a step and give you the overall feeling when you enter. So the Château de Vincennes is just steps away, but very few people even make it to the Château de Vincennes, but then even fewer make it here. All right, let's move on. Just fantastic. It actually just rained and the sun has come out a little bit. And so it may just be the perfect time for me to show you these flowers and the quality of the sort of the tranquil atmosphere. Let me go get me something. Cute little kiosk there that I don't think is being used anymore, but there you go. You see some lily pads there. Let's zoom in. Try not to fall in. Actually, let's check the view back this way towards the bridge. We can allow ourselves to go nice and slow today. I'm not in a hurry. So there are buildings, there's a bit of architecture in this direction, and it's the leftovers of the Calvary. Again, that was created in 1899 here. And today it is still the equestrian branch of the National Guard, or at least one of them. So that's why we saw those folks, men and women in uniform, still sort of trotting along on horses here near the Château de Vincennes, keeping the horses, happy and well exercised. And so that's what these buildings are here. But this is just really lovely. I actually want to bring my girls here because they don't have much in terms of a playground, but my girls love a good slide. And so you've got this slide and essentially a sandbox around it. Quite lovely there. I mean, it's a photographer's dream. This isn't too far from where I live, and when I bike my way into town, I had been going by this almost every day. I'd been riding my bike past the edge of this park, and then one day, I don't know, something grabbed hold of me, and I said I should probably just go further in and see if there's anything noteworthy inside. And boy, you're going to see it's just one lovely view after the last. back at the archway there. So I mentioned the Château de Vincennes, and because I'm pre-recording here, I think I can actually, what I can't do on Facebook is I can just hit the zoom for you. So that's how close we are. So if you come out here any morning, any weekday morning, it'll just be a few joggers essentially. And you'll have the place almost to yourself. I'll admit, I just looked down to see if anyone was commenting. I'm so conditioned to do the live versions of these videos. Look at this. So the water continues through, obviously. I want to show you this view here. This is where it feels Giverny-like as well. Something like that, right? Just lovely stuff. There's something real special over that way that I'll show you a little bit later. It's what I gave you a glimpse of in the original video that I sent you all. Look at these big, beautiful, enormous leaves. Wow. So it's insane, you know, most cities would have a park like this and it would be very well known and it would be packed most times of the day. But this is just tucked away outside of what geographically is in fact outside of Paris. And I'll reiterate one last time that this is considered the 12th arrondissement. I don't know exactly why, but they extended the 12th arrondissement outside to include a large portion of this Bois de Vincennes area. This is the one of the edges of the park, but we're not going to leave yet. That's the entrance of the Republican Guard. Look at that. Here it starts to get very tropical and is beautiful in an entirely different way. The sun's coming out just in time for us. Look at this. Wow. What an absolute treat to have this more or less in my own backyard, but then also so accessible. By the way, if you want to make it out here, if you haven't been out to Vincennes, it's a very, very easy. You use the Metro Line 1, the yellow line, and you go either all the way to the end of the line, the station's called Château de Vincennes, or one station before it, which is called Bérault. Either one of those, you hop off and you can, this is within walking distance. The Square Carnot. Look at this, lovely. And it's just the kind of park that it just seems to get better and better as you walk through. So these palm trees mark where there is a little bit of a mini bamboo forest. Let's walk through. As you can see, we've got the little steps here beckoning us forth into this fun space. Almost doesn't feel like Paris at some point. Look at that. Let me try to back up here. I mean, really, honestly, how fun is this? For those of us who feel like we know Paris fairly well at this point and we've seen a lot of what it has to offer, you come out to a place like this and you're just reminded that Paris has so many tricks up its sleeve. You have no idea. You have no idea how much the city can continue to transport you and surprise you. So there's a walkway that leads through here. They're doing a little bit of, I don't know, construction or whatnot. But look at this. So this is what I was talking about. Interestingly, Giverny, Monet's residence and his gardens that he was creating, roughly are in sync, give or take, with the creation of this park. So was this park actually inspired by Monet's gardens? At times it almost feels like it, with the bridges and the lily pads and the bamboo forests, etc. What a treat. Let me pop the zoom in there. If any of you are new and you don't recall, one of my early bonus episodes I did was actually a live video through Monet's gardens at Giverny. And thanks to Sue-Ann Hum, one of our Frites, one of our own, she allowed me to get private access after hours at Giverny. So definitely check that out. I'll put a link below for those of you who haven't seen that or if you want to revisit it. I mean, that was a real treat to get to walk through Monet's gardens essentially alone and have it all to myself. So that was pretty great. But if you can't do that, and if you want to avoid the crowds and you don't want to go all the way out to Giverny, come over here. All you got to do is take the metro a little bit east outside of Paris. Okay, so this is fun. You can see this in front of us. This is the sort of pièce de résistance. And it's a whole world unto itself, really, this little section. Love what they did. So it's obviously flowers all around. I'm so pleased that so much is in bloom this time of year. We're early October now. Oh, before I forget, let me just pan over here. This park is known for having one of these famous, it's called the weeping beech tree. And look at that glory. Ooh. Very distinct, and so the park is known for that, among other things. Love it. You can walk, obviously, right under that. So back to this. Let's go through and see what's going on. There's a lot, actually. Go nice and slow. Just an explosion of color here. there are rings that sort of run around the center, so you can kind of toy with it, and you can play with just meandering around before you even get inside the structure. But just, I mean, who knows the name of these things? I'm terrible with flowers and plants, but there's just all sorts of stuff happening here. The variation, colors that my phone can barely even pick up on its sensor. Good stuff. And then you come upon this in the center. So they're creating almost sort of a teepee canopy of ivy, and it's doing its best to grow in. So it's not just a flower garden, it is an herb garden as well. And I'll show you that in a minute, but you can see all of this vegetation growing up toward the center. And so, you know, one day it's going to be sort of like a circus tent, just completely covered in that ivy and whatnot. So they've got all these little boxes set up for herbs, like over here, for example. Romarin, meaning rosemary. I always like to give that a little rub and a sniff. There you go. You can sniff that. Oh, it smells great. There's a peek back over to the Republican Guard. Some more herbage. And you can just move your way through here. Really like this view here. And everyone's riding bikes past this, everyone's driving past it on their way to work and whatnot, and seemingly oblivious, as I was for a long time, seemingly oblivious to just how much loveliness is tucked away over here. Look at this, just... I guess lush is the proper word to be used here. Having quite the composition fest here on my end, I can tell you. Really enjoying this. Wow, just completely blows me away. What an amazing respect they have for creating these spaces, you know. And it's not an area where teenagers have come and torn everything up and put graffiti everywhere, and it's just still feels so respected. You know, people come here for their jogging and they bring their kids, and it's just, I don't know, it feels French, if that makes sense. Look at this. I don't even know. Someone can tell me what the heck this is called. But it's spectacular. Look at these beauties. Wow. So before we finish up, why don't I just do one last wrap around this big structure here so you can see that it is completely surrounded by all kinds of color. I mean, these compositions are ridiculous. Look at this. I mean, come on, they could charge admission to come into this place, and instead, it's the opposite situation. You almost gotta force people in here, convince them that it exists, right? I mean, wow, what an absolute incredible secret this is. And I'm so glad, I'm in fact happy that in the end, I'm able to share this just with the patrons. So we're gonna consider this garden our official Frye retreat, shall we say? Wow. And again, I'll remind you, like I said on the video last week, last Saturday before I had the migraine, I started prepping an entirely different live tour. And it was a Friday, and I was on my way to finish the prep for a completely different area and a different neighborhood, and I just discovered this, and I said, okay, I gotta stop everything. And I said, I gotta show them this first. Everything else can be put on hold. I'm actually near the beaching, the beaching weep? No, the weeping beach. So let me back up into that. Oops, sorry. It's enormous. You see how far away that is? Wow. And the trunk is spectacular. There's a little bit of something here, actually. Okay, here we go. So planted, for example, planted 1865. Woo. 20 meters high. Listed as what the French would call un arbre remarquable, a remarkable tree. It's sort of like when they decide that a tree has become a sort of historical monument, they will call it a remarkable arbre. All right, let's finish our tour, so to speak, our walk around. Oh, I love this too. Obviously, that's what I started this video with, but ooh, it's so good. In all different kinds of light. Oh, it's so great. I'm so glad I showed you this today instead of tomorrow, where it was going to be pouring on us the whole time. That would just have really killed the mood in a way, I think. And we'll finish up over here. Okay, so there you have it, folks. Your own private Giverny, as I like to call it. And I hope you agree that it's pretty special. And the fact that I can live here 9.5 years before I discover this. And I asked people, I said, has this been around a while? They're like, yeah, it's been here. And so, yeah, it turns out it's been here since 1890. And just, what can I say? I hope you enjoyed this little bonus Frites only secret. And I hope you can make it over here. Let me know if you do. Otherwise, I hope you have a lovely day. And I'll look to make some more content for you all. Thanks again for your support. And what's the final composition? Let's see. Maybe something like that. Okay, everybody, have a lovely day, and I will catch you on the next video. Take care.